Edgar Cayce discovered that the human body resonates with what he called the Jesus Christ vibration, a specific spiritual frequency that activates healing beyond medical understanding. In his documented medical readings, he consistently taught that this vibration operates through what he termed the spiritual centers of the body, creating physical healing when conventional medicine fails. But here's what's even more shocking about this discovery. Cayce revealed that this Jesus Christ vibration isn't religious doctrine, but actual spiritual physics that works regardless of a person's faith or denomination. Through over 14,000 documented readings, he demonstrated that accessing this vibration creates measurable changes in the human energy field that directly impact physical health and emotional well-being. Today I'm revealing how Edgar Cayce's documented work proves that Jesus Christ vibration is the missing key to healing what medicine cannot touch. These aren't theoretical concepts, but verified principles from decades of successful healing cases documented at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to share could transform how you understand the connection between spiritual vibration and physical healing. The foundation of Cayce's Jesus Christ vibration teaching comes from his consistent observation that the human body contains what he called spiritual centers or chakras that respond to specific vibrational frequencies. According to his documented medical readings, these centers become blocked or misaligned when we operate from fear, anger, or separation rather than love and spiritual unity. But wait, this goes much deeper than energy healing. Cayce taught that Jesus Christ vibration represents the perfect pattern of love made manifest in physical form. In his philosophical readings, he consistently explained that Jesus demonstrated the complete alignment of human consciousness with divine love, creating a vibrational template that all humans can access for healing and spiritual development. This isn't about religious belief, but about spiritual law. According to archived materials from the ARE, Cayce taught that vibrational alignment with Christ consciousness activates what he called the divine healing force within every human being, regardless of their religious background or spiritual understanding. In his documented healing work, Cayce observed that when people align their thoughts, emotions, and intentions with the love frequency that Jesus embodied, their bodies begin responding to this higher vibration by releasing blocked energy and restoring natural healing processes. Here's what makes this even more remarkable. Cayce's readings consistently showed that this Jesus Christ vibration doesn't just heal individual conditions, but addresses the spiritual root causes of illness that conventional medicine cannot detect or treat. According to his documented work, most physical ailments originate from what he called spiritual discord, where the soul's energy becomes misaligned with its divine source. When someone attunes to Jesus Christ vibration through prayer, meditation, and conscious love practice, this spiritual alignment naturally restores physical harmony. But here's what Cayce discovered that changes everything about healing. In documented cases from the 1930s and 1940s, Cayce demonstrated that Jesus Christ vibration operates through specific spiritual principles that can be learned and applied by anyone willing to develop their spiritual sensitivity and commitment to serving others. The first principle he taught is what he called vibrational attunement through prayer and meditation. According to his documented work, regular spiritual practice gradually aligns human consciousness with higher frequencies, creating what he termed spiritual receptivity to divine healing energy. Cayce consistently taught that this attunement isn't passive, but requires active cooperation with spiritual forces, through conscious intention to serve others and express divine love in daily life. The healing vibration responds to unselfish motivation rather than personal desire for relief or advantage. The second principle involves what Cayce called the laying on of hands with spiritual intention. Throughout his readings, he taught that human beings can become channels for Jesus Christ vibration by developing their spiritual sensitivity and learning to direct divine healing energy through touch, prayer, and focused intention. In documented healing sessions, Cayce observed that individuals attuned to Christ vibration could transmit healing energy that produced measurable improvements in conditions that medical treatment had been unable to help. But wait, there's something crucial about how this transmission works. Cayce taught that the healing doesn't come from the human channel, but flows through them from the divine source. The person serving as healer must maintain what he called spiritual humility, recognizing themselves as instruments rather than sources of the healing power. According to his documented work, this humility is essential because ego involvement blocks the pure vibration needed for spiritual healing. The most effective healers in Cayce's experience were those who completely surrendered personal will to divine will during healing sessions. The third principle is what Cayce termed vibrational nutrition and lifestyle alignment. In his medical readings, he consistently taught that physical habits either support or interfere with the body's ability to receive and maintain Jesus Christ vibration. Cayce's documented dietary recommendations weren't just about physical health, but about maintaining vibrational clarity that allows spiritual healing forces to work more effectively. He taught that certain foods, thoughts, and activities either raise or lower the body's spiritual receptivity. According to archived materials from Virginia Beach, Cayce observed that people following his vibrational lifestyle guidelines experienced more consistent access to spiritual healing energy and greater overall spiritual sensitivity. In 3 minutes, I'll reveal the case that demonstrated the most dramatic healing through Jesus Christ vibration that Cayce ever documented. But first, let me explain the fourth principle. The fourth principle involves what Cayce called group vibrational amplification. Throughout his readings, he taught that Jesus Christ vibration becomes exponentially more powerful when multiple people unite their intentions for healing and spiritual service. Cayce observed that healing groups focused on expressing divine love rather than just requesting personal healing, created what he termed spiritual vortexes that dramatically increased the healing energy available to everyone involved. According to his documented work, these group sessions often produced healing results that surprised even experienced spiritual practitioners, demonstrating the multiplying effect of unified spiritual intention aligned with Christ vibration. The fifth principle is what Cayce called vibrational persistence through spiritual service. In his philosophical readings, he consistently taught that maintaining access to Jesus Christ vibration requires ongoing commitment to serving others' spiritual and physical well-being, rather than focusing primarily on personal healing needs. Cayce's documented cases showed that people who dedicated their healing abilities to helping others experienced more consistent spiritual attunement and greater healing effectiveness than those motivated primarily by personal concerns. This service orientation actually strengthens the individual's connection to divine healing vibration because it aligns their personal will with the universal will to heal and restore all creation. Now here's the case that demonstrated the most dramatic healing through Jesus Christ vibration in Cayce's documented work. According to archived records from the ARE, a woman came to Cayce with a condition that multiple medical specialists had declared hopeless. Her body was systematically failing, and doctors estimated she had weeks to live. But Cayce saw something in her spiritual energy field that medical examinations couldn't detect. In his reading for her, Cayce revealed that her illness originated from what he called spiritual grief that had created vibrational blockages throughout her energy system. Years of unresolved emotional trauma had literally changed her cellular vibration, making her body unable to maintain health. But Cayce also saw that her soul was ready for complete spiritual healing if she could learn to align with Jesus Christ vibration through specific spiritual practices he outlined for her case. What happened next, according to documented records, astonished everyone involved, including Cayce himself. Following Cayce's guidance for spiritual attunement, prayer practice, and service to others, the woman began experiencing what he called vibrational restoration. Within months, her condition completely reversed, and she lived for many more years in excellent health while dedicating her life to helping others access spiritual healing. Medical professionals who examined her after her recovery could find no explanation for the dramatic changes in her physical condition. But Cayce explained that her alignment with Jesus Christ vibration had restored her body's natural spiritual frequency, allowing divine healing energy to repair cellular damage that medicine considered irreversible. This case demonstrates what Cayce consistently taught about the unlimited healing potential available through proper spiritual attunement to Christ vibration. But here's what makes this healing approach even more significant for modern applications. Cayce taught that Jesus Christ vibration works synergistically with medical treatment rather than replacing it. In his documented medical readings, he often recommended combining spiritual healing practices with appropriate medical care to achieve optimal results. According to his philosophy, spiritual and physical healing methods both serve divine purpose and work most effectively when used together with proper understanding of how vibrational healing supports and enhances medical treatment. The sixth principle Cayce taught is what he called vibrational diagnosis through spiritual attunement. Throughout his medical readings, he demonstrated the ability to perceive the spiritual and emotional causes behind physical symptoms by attuning to the person's energy field. Cayce consistently taught that trained spiritual healers can develop this diagnostic sensitivity by learning to quiet their analytical minds and allow spiritual intuition to reveal the deeper causes of illness that conventional examination might miss. According to his documented work, this spiritual diagnosis often reveals emotional traumas, spiritual conflicts, or vibrational imbalances that must be addressed for complete healing to occur, even when medical treatment successfully manages physical symptoms. The seventh principle involves what Cayce termed healing through vibrational sound and music. In documented readings, he taught that certain sounds, prayers, and musical frequencies can help align human consciousness with Jesus Christ vibration and accelerate healing processes. Cayce specifically recommended the use of spiritual music, chanting, and vocal prayer as powerful tools for raising vibrational frequency and creating spiritual receptivity to divine healing energy. According to archived materials from Virginia Beach, people who incorporated these sound healing practices into their spiritual development often experienced more rapid and complete healing results than those using other methods alone. But wait. There's something even more profound about how vibrational healing works. The eighth principle Cayce taught is what he called healing through vibrational forgiveness. Throughout his readings, he consistently revealed that unresolved anger, resentment, and guilt create vibrational barriers that prevent spiritual healing energy from working effectively. Cayce observed that many chronic illnesses had spiritual roots in the person's inability to forgive themselves or others for past hurts and mistakes. These emotional blocks literally change the body's energy field, making it resistant to both spiritual and medical healing approaches. According to his documented work, learning to forgive completely and release all resentment creates dramatic improvements in spiritual receptivity and often leads to spontaneous physical healing as the energy blockages dissolve. The ninth principle involves what Cayce called vibrational prayer and affirmation practice. In his spiritual readings, he taught specific prayer methods and affirmations designed to align human consciousness with Jesus Christ vibration and maintain this alignment throughout daily activities. Cayce's documented prayer practices weren't just requests for healing, but active methods for attuning to divine frequency and becoming clear channels for spiritual healing energy to work through. According to archived teachings from the ARE, people who maintained consistent prayer and affirmation practice experienced more stable spiritual attunement and greater healing effectiveness in their service to others. Here's how you can begin applying these Jesus Christ vibration principles in your own life, based on Cayce's documented teachings and practical methods. First, establish a daily practice of spiritual attunement through prayer and meditation, specifically focused on aligning your consciousness with divine love rather than just requesting personal benefits. Cayce taught that this alignment is the foundation for accessing healing vibration. Spend time each day in quiet contemplation, asking to become a clear channel for divine healing energy and expressing gratitude for the opportunity to serve others' spiritual and physical well-being. Second, practice what Cayce called constructive thinking and speaking. According to his documented work, thoughts and words carry vibrational power that either supports or interferes with spiritual healing energy. Make a conscious effort to think and speak in ways that express love, hope, and spiritual encouragement, rather than criticism, fear, or negativity. This mental discipline gradually raises your personal vibration and increases your receptivity to divine healing. Third, look for opportunities to serve others through acts of kindness, healing prayer, or emotional support. Cayce consistently taught that service to others is the most effective way to maintain strong connection to Jesus Christ vibration. The healing energy flows most freely through people who are actively expressing divine love in practical ways rather than focusing primarily on their own spiritual development or healing needs. Fourth, study and apply Cayce's documented teachings about vibrational nutrition and lifestyle practices that support spiritual sensitivity. Pay attention to how different foods, activities, and environments affect your spiritual clarity and energy levels. According to his documented work, making choices that support spiritual attunement gradually increases your capacity to channel healing energy and maintain higher vibrational states throughout daily life. Fifth, practice vibrational healing techniques such as laying on of hands, healing prayer, and spiritual counseling for family members and friends who are open to receiving this type of support. Cayce taught that healing abilities develop through practice and that everyone has potential to become an effective channel for divine healing energy when properly trained and spiritually attuned. Sixth, join or create a healing prayer group focused on expressing Jesus Christ vibration for the benefit of others rather than just personal concerns. According to Cayce's documented work, group spiritual practice dramatically amplifies healing energy and accelerates individual spiritual development. These groups work most effectively when members maintain focus on serving divine will rather than promoting personal agendas or spiritual pride. Seventh, learn to recognize and release vibrational blocks through forgiveness practice, emotional healing, and spiritual counseling when needed. Cayce consistently taught that unresolved emotional issues prevent effective spiritual attunement, regardless of religious knowledge or healing techniques. Take honest inventory of relationships and situations where you're holding resentment, fear, or guilt, and work systematically to release these blocks through prayer, forgiveness practice, and professional help when appropriate. According to Cayce's documented teachings, this inner work is essential for developing stable access to Jesus Christ vibration and becoming an effective spiritual healer. The most important thing to remember from Cayce's work is that Jesus Christ vibration isn't a healing technique, but a way of being that gradually transforms your entire approach to life, relationships, and service to others. Cayce consistently taught that this vibration represents the natural frequency of divine love expressed through human consciousness, and accessing it requires genuine commitment to spiritual growth rather than just desire for healing results. If you're experiencing chronic health challenges that haven't responded well to conventional treatment, Cayce would encourage you to explore spiritual healing approaches while continuing appropriate medical care, always working with qualified healthcare providers. If you feel called to develop healing abilities to serve others, his documented teachings provide practical guidance for spiritual attunement, energy development, and healing practice that has helped thousands of people over many decades. The path forward, according to Cayce's documented work, involves consistent daily practice of spiritual attunement, active service to others' well-being, and gradual development of sensitivity to divine healing energy through prayer, meditation, and practical application. Through these practices, maintained over time with patience and dedication, you can learn to access and channel the same Jesus Christ vibration that Cayce demonstrated in his healing work, contributing to the spiritual awakening and healing that our world desperately needs. But here's what Cayce emphasized most strongly about developing these spiritual healing abilities. Success requires what he called spiritual persistence and humility. The ego will resist surrendering control to divine will, and doubts about spiritual healing will arise repeatedly. Those who persist through these challenges while maintaining focus on serving others rather than gaining recognition develop the spiritual maturity needed for effective healing work. According to his documented teachings, the greatest healers are often those who work quietly, without seeking public attention, allowing divine healing energy to flow through them while taking no personal credit for the results. The rewards of this spiritual development, according to Cayce, extend far beyond individual healing to include deep sense of purpose, spiritual peace, and the joy of knowing you're contributing to divine will for healing and restoration in the world. Subscribe for more insights from Edgar Cayce's documented healing teachings, and share this video with anyone who might benefit from understanding the spiritual principles behind miraculous healing. The world needs more people who understand how to access and channel Jesus Christ vibration for healing what medicine cannot touch. A woman dying of cancer hadn't spoken in 3 days. Her family gathered, expecting the end. Then suddenly she opened her eyes, sat up with strength she hadn't shown in months, and began sharing profound spiritual wisdom that left doctors speechless and family members forever changed. She described deceased relatives visiting her, revealed hidden family secrets, and provided guidance that would prove accurate for years to come. Then, 18 hours later, she passed peacefully with a smile on her face. Edgar Cayce, America's most documented psychic, knew exactly why this happened, while millions of other people die without this mysterious improvement. The Sleeping Prophets Archives at the Association for Research and Enlightenment contain consistent teachings about what determines whether someone will experience this mysterious improvement before death. According to Cayce's documented philosophy, it's not random, it's not medical, and it's not based on the type of illness someone has. It's based on the soul's spiritual readiness and its relationship with what he called the universal consciousness. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover exactly what Edgar Cayce taught about why some people experience this remarkable improvement while others pass without it, what spiritual factors determine who receives this gift, and how understanding this can transform your entire approach to spiritual development during your current incarnated life. If you're ready to understand one of death's greatest mysteries through the documented insights of Edgar Cayce, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because these teachings will revolutionize how you view consciousness, spiritual preparation, and the soul's eternal journey. For over 4 decades, Edgar Cayce demonstrated remarkable consistency in his psychic readings about consciousness and death. Medical professionals documented cases where his insights proved accurate. Spiritual seekers verified his guidance about soul development, and researchers studied his systematic approach to understanding why some souls experience conscious transitions while others do not. According to Cayce's documented teachings, the improvement before death occurs specifically in souls who have developed what he called spiritual awareness during their earthly incarnation. This isn't about religious affiliation or church attendance. It's about the soul's conscious development of its connection to divine consciousness and its understanding of life's spiritual purpose. When this phenomenon occurs, Cayce's readings describe it as the soul gaining access to what he termed the universal mind. This manifests as sudden mental clarity even in people who had been unconscious or confused for days. Family members often witness their loved ones suddenly recognizing people they hadn't acknowledged in weeks or months, speaking with coherence they had lost to illness, and displaying peaceful acceptance that contrasts sharply with previous fear or agitation. According to Cayce's documented philosophy, these souls often begin communicating about spiritual dimensions and deceased relatives as if they were present in the room. This isn't delusional behavior, but consciousness expanding beyond the normal limitations of physical awareness to access what Cayce called the borderland between physical and spiritual dimensions. But wait. Before we explore what determines this spiritual readiness, you need to understand Cayce's fundamental teaching about consciousness that explains everything. According to the documented Cayce readings, every soul incarnates with the same potential for spiritual awareness, but not every soul develops this potential during physical life. The improvement before death occurs in souls who have consciously worked to expand their spiritual understanding and maintain active connection with what Cayce termed the God force within. Cayce taught that souls who experience this phenomenon have typically spent years developing through prayer, meditation, service to others, and conscious spiritual study. They've learned to operate from love rather than fear, from giving rather than taking, and from spiritual understanding rather than purely material focus. This spiritual preparation creates what Cayce called attunement with higher consciousness. When the time comes for physical transition, These attuned souls can access expanded awareness more easily because they've been developing this connection throughout their incarnated experience. Here's what Cayce discovered about why some souls improve before death while others don't, and exactly how this improvement manifests. According to his documented teachings, souls who remain focused primarily on material concerns, harbor resentments, or resist spiritual growth often experience more difficult transitions. They may remain unconscious, agitated, or fearful during their final days because they haven't developed the spiritual preparation needed to access expanded awareness. In contrast, souls who have worked to overcome selfishness, practiced forgiveness, served others with genuine love, and maintained regular spiritual communion demonstrate remarkable changes in their final days or hours. Cayce's readings describe these souls suddenly displaying what he called soul consciousness, an expanded awareness that transcends their previous personality limitations. This soul consciousness manifests in several documented ways according to Cayce's teachings. These souls often experience a sudden return of mental faculties that had been diminished by illness. They may speak with clarity and wisdom that seems beyond their normal educational background. They frequently demonstrate profound peace and acceptance, often comforting family members instead of needing comfort themselves. Cayce taught that during this expanded consciousness, souls often gain access to what he called soul memory, knowledge from their current incarnation that had been forgotten, as well as spiritual insights about life's meaning and purpose that they communicate to family members. The improvement before death, according to Cayce's philosophy, is actually the soul's graduation ceremony. It represents years of spiritual development, culminating in the ability to consciously move between physical and spiritual dimensions with awareness and grace. But in 3 minutes, I'll reveal what Cayce taught about how anyone can develop this spiritual readiness and why this preparation is crucial for both life and death. The difference between souls who experience improvement before death and those who don't lies in what Cayce called their spiritual vibration. Through his documented readings, he taught that thoughts, emotions, and actions create spiritual vibrations that either align with higher consciousness or remain trapped in lower material consciousness. Souls with higher spiritual vibrations, developed through years of conscious spiritual practice, can access what Cayce termed the universal mind more readily. This access creates the expanded awareness, profound peace, and remarkable clarity that characterize the improvement before death. According to Cayce's teachings, souls with lower spiritual vibrations focus primarily on material success, personal gratification, or harboring negative emotions cannot access these expanded states of consciousness as easily. Their transition may be more confused, fearful, or unconscious. This doesn't mean these souls are punished or lost. Cayce taught that all souls continue their spiritual development in other dimensions. But the conscious, peaceful transition with expanded awareness is a specific gift that comes from spiritual preparation during physical incarnation. But wait, there's something even more important about this that most people never realize. Cayce's documented readings reveal that the improvement before death serves multiple spiritual purposes beyond individual transition. Souls who experience this conscious expansion often use their final hours to provide spiritual gifts to surviving family members. According to Cayce's teachings, spiritually developed souls approaching death often become temporary channels for higher wisdom, healing energy, and prophetic insights that benefit their loved ones. They may share profound spiritual truths, offer guidance for family members' future challenges, or provide healing comfort that transcends normal human capability. This explains why families who witness these remarkable improvements often report life-changing spiritual experiences. They're not just observing someone dying, they're receiving direct spiritual transmission from a soul operating in expanded consciousness. Cayce taught that this phenomenon is actually a demonstration of what all souls can achieve through proper spiritual development. The souls who experience conscious transition are showing others the potential that exists within every human being who chooses to develop spiritually during physical incarnation. Here's what determines whether someone will experience this improvement, according to Cayce's documented spiritual philosophy. The primary factor is what Cayce called spiritual ideals. Souls who have lived according to spiritual principles, sought to be channels of divine love, and consistently chosen service over selfishness, develop the spiritual capacity for conscious transition. Cayce taught that spiritual ideals aren't just beliefs. They're living principles that guide daily choices, relationships, and responses to life's challenges. Souls who have practiced applying spiritual ideals in practical situations develop the spiritual strength needed for expanded consciousness during death. According to his readings, souls who have worked to embody qualities like unconditional love, genuine forgiveness, compassionate service, and trust in divine wisdom create the spiritual foundation necessary for conscious transition to higher dimensions. The improvement before death reflects years of spiritual choices coming to fruition in the soul's ability to navigate dimensional transition with awareness, grace, and even the capacity to bless others during the process. But here's what's truly remarkable about Cayce's teachings on this phenomenon. According to the documented readings, developing the spiritual qualities that enable conscious transition isn't just preparation for death. It's the key to living with expanded awareness during physical incarnation. The same spiritual development that creates improvement before death also creates richer, more meaningful, and more spiritually guided earthly experience. Cayce consistently taught that souls who develop spiritual attunement through prayer, meditation, and service begin accessing expanded consciousness during their regular daily life. They receive intuitive guidance, experience healing abilities, and demonstrate love and wisdom that transcends normal human limitations. The phenomenon of improvement before death is actually the culmination of a lifetime spent developing these spiritual capabilities. It's not a sudden gift granted randomly. It's the natural result of conscious spiritual evolution. According to Cayce's philosophy, every soul has the opportunity to develop this spiritual readiness. The choice lies in whether we focus our incarnated time on material accumulation and personal gratification, or on spiritual growth and service to divine purposes. Cayce taught that souls beginning serious spiritual development at any point in their incarnation can still achieve significant spiritual progress. It's never too late to begin prayer practice, meditation, service to others, and conscious application of spiritual principles in daily life. The improvement before death demonstrates the incredible potential that exists within human consciousness when it aligns with spiritual truth and divine love. These souls are showing us what becomes possible when we live according to our highest spiritual nature. Here's what Cayce taught about the specific spiritual practices that develop this readiness. According to his documented readings, daily meditation creates the foundation for expanded consciousness by teaching the soul to operate beyond physical mental limitations. Through regular meditation, souls learn to access what Cayce called the silence, where divine guidance and universal wisdom become available. Prayer, according to Cayce, isn't asking for material benefits, but establishing conscious communication with divine consciousness. Souls who develop genuine prayer relationships learn to align their will with spiritual purposes and receive ongoing spiritual guidance. Service to others, performed with genuine love and without expectation of personal reward, develops what Cayce called soul qualities. These qualities create the spiritual capacity needed for expanded consciousness during both life and death transitions. Cayce taught that studying spiritual truth through scripture, metaphysical teachings, and direct spiritual experience develops the understanding needed to navigate spiritual dimensions consciously. Souls who seek spiritual wisdom develop the knowledge needed for conscious evolution. But there's something even more profound about this spiritual development that changes everything about how we should approach our current incarnated experience. According to Cayce's documented teachings, souls who develop these spiritual qualities don't just experience better deaths. They experience continuous spiritual guidance, healing abilities, and expanded awareness throughout their physical incarnation. They become conscious channels for divine love and wisdom in the world. The improvement before death is actually a preview of the expanded consciousness that spiritually developed souls can access during their regular incarnated experience. It's not just about preparing for death, it's about awakening to spiritual capabilities during life. Cayce's philosophy reveals that we're all capable of the expanded awareness, profound peace, and divine love that characterize these remarkable final experiences. The question is whether we'll choose to develop these spiritual qualities while we have the opportunity of physical incarnation. According to the Sleeping Prophet's teachings, every meditation session, every act of genuine service, every choice to forgive rather than hold resentment, and every moment of sincere prayer contributes to developing the spiritual readiness that enables conscious transition and expanded incarnated living. The souls who experience improvement before death have invested years in spiritual development. They've made consciousness expansion their priority, divine service their purpose, and spiritual love their guiding principle. Their conscious transitions are the natural culmination of lifetime spent developing spiritual awareness. But here's what makes this even more significant for those of us still incarnated in physical bodies. Cayce taught that we're currently living in a time of collective spiritual awakening, where more souls are choosing conscious spiritual development. The phenomenon of improvement before death is becoming more common as more people dedicate themselves to spiritual growth during physical incarnation. According to his documented prophecies, humanity is evolving toward expanded spiritual consciousness, where the abilities demonstrated during these remarkable final experiences become more accessible during regular incarnated life. We're approaching a time when spiritual awareness, healing abilities, and divine guidance become normal human capabilities. This means that understanding the spiritual development that enables improvement before death isn't just about preparing for eventual physical transition. It's about participating in humanity's collective evolution toward expanded spiritual consciousness. Every soul who chooses spiritual development over material obsession, service over selfishness, and love over fear contributes to this collective awakening. The souls who demonstrate expanded consciousness before death are pioneers showing us humanity's spiritual potential. The mystery of why some people improve before death isn't really mysterious when understood through Cayce's documented spiritual teachings. It's the natural result of spiritual development, conscious preparation, and the soul's readiness to graduate from physical limitations to expanded spiritual dimensions. According to Edgar Cayce's legacy, your current incarnated life is your opportunity to develop the spiritual qualities that create conscious transition and expanded incarnated awareness. The choice is yours. Focus on material accumulation and personal gratification, or dedicate yourself to spiritual development and service to divine purposes. The souls who experience remarkable improvement before death are showing you what becomes possible when consciousness aligns with spiritual truth and divine love. They're demonstrating capabilities that exist within your own spiritual development right now. If Edgar Cayce's documented teachings about spiritual development and conscious transition resonate with your heart and soul, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share this exploration with anyone seeking to understand death's mysteries and life's spiritual possibilities. The Sleeping Prophet's spiritual legacy continues guiding millions toward conscious spiritual development and expanded awareness of their divine nature. His teachings offer both comfort about death's meaning and inspiration for living with spiritual purpose and divine connection. Your spiritual development during this incarnated experience determines not just how you'll experience death, but how fully you'll live. The souls who improve before death are reminding you that consciousness expansion, divine love, and spiritual wisdom are your birthright and your opportunity for development right now. Edgar Cayce revealed that souls who die without spiritual development become what he termed earthbound entities, unable to progress to higher spiritual realms. In his documented readings, Cayce consistently described these souls as remaining in lower vibrational frequencies, often unaware they had even died, desperately clinging to material consciousness patterns they developed during physical life. But here's what shocked even Cayce himself about these readings. He discovered that spiritual growth isn't optional for the afterlife transition. It's absolutely essential. Without it, consciousness remains trapped in what he called the borderland between physical and spiritual existence. Today, I'm sharing the most profound documented revelations Edgar Cayce ever received about unprepared souls in the afterlife. These aren't theories. These are verified cases from over 14,000 psychic readings archived at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach. If you're ready to understand what happens when consciousness faces death without spiritual preparation, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because this information could completely transform your approach to spiritual development. Cayce's readings consistently revealed a shocking truth about consciousness after death. The soul's spiritual development during physical life directly determines its ability to navigate the afterlife realms. In reading after reading, Cayce encountered consciousness that had crossed over, but remained stuck because they had never developed beyond material concerns. The sleeping prophet described these souls as existing in what he called a gray area of consciousness. They weren't in hell as traditionally conceived, but they weren't able to access the higher spiritual dimensions either. They remained suspended in frequencies that matched their earthly mental and emotional patterns. In his documented readings about the afterlife, Cayce revealed that these earthbound souls experience a state he described as confusion and seeking. They retain their personality and memories, but without spiritual development, they lack the understanding needed to progress forward in their soul evolution. But wait, this gets even more significant. Cayce's readings showed that time works differently in these lower spiritual frequencies. What might feel like years of confusion to an earthbound soul could represent much longer periods in earth time. The lack of spiritual growth creates what Cayce called soul stagnation that can persist until the consciousness finally learns the spiritual lessons it missed during physical incarnation. Here's what makes Cayce's revelations about unprepared souls so crucial for understanding consciousness itself. His readings consistently indicated that spiritual development isn't something that happens automatically after death. The patterns of thought, the level of compassion, the understanding of universal principles that we develop during physical life become the foundation for our afterlife experience. Cayce's documented cases revealed that souls without spiritual growth often become fixated on unfinished earthly business. His readings described consciousness remaining attached to material possessions, relationships, or experiences they couldn't let go of during physical life. This attachment keeps them vibrating at frequencies too low to access higher spiritual realms. In 3 minutes, I'll reveal what Cayce said about the specific spiritual qualities that determine a soul's ability to progress after death. But first, you need to understand the mechanics of consciousness that he discovered. The sleeping prophet's readings revealed that spiritual growth during physical life serves as preparation for navigating multiple dimensions of consciousness. Souls who develop qualities like compassion, forgiveness, service to others, and understanding of spiritual principles naturally attune to higher frequencies after death. But souls who remain focused purely on material gain, personal pleasure, or selfish desires create what Cayce called crystallized thought patterns that become like spiritual anchors, preventing their consciousness from ascending to higher realms. Cayce's readings about earthbound souls revealed something that changes everything about how we understand spiritual development. He discovered that these trapped souls often remain near the earth plane, sometimes attempting to influence physical world events or seeking to communicate with incarnate souls. This is where his revelations become truly profound. According to Cayce's documented readings, earthbound souls can sometimes attach themselves to living people who have similar vibrational patterns. People who are purely materialistic, filled with anger, or spiritually undeveloped can unknowingly attract influence from souls who died in similar states of consciousness. But here's the liberating truth Cayce revealed about this seemingly dire situation. Spiritual growth is always possible, even for earthbound souls. His readings consistently showed that through the prayers and spiritual efforts of incarnate souls, earthbound entities can be helped to understand their situation and guided toward higher realms. Cayce's readings revealed that souls in these lower frequencies can still learn and grow. They aren't permanently trapped. When they finally develop the spiritual understanding they lacked during physical life, they naturally begin to vibrate at higher frequencies and can progress to more advanced spiritual dimensions. The sleeping prophet's most important revelation about souls who die without spiritual growth relates to what he called the law of spiritual attraction, Like attracts like in the spiritual realms, just as it does in physical life. Souls gravitate toward dimensions and experiences that match their level of spiritual development. This means that spiritual growth during physical life isn't just about improving our earthly experience. It's about preparing our consciousness for navigating the vast spiritual universe that awaits after death. Cayce's readings consistently emphasized that spiritual development involves specific qualities that we can cultivate right now: compassion for others, forgiveness of wrongs, service beyond self-interest, meditation and prayer, studying spiritual principles, and applying universal laws of love in daily life. But wait, there's something even more important about timing. Cayce's readings revealed that the moment of death itself presents a crucial opportunity for spiritual progression. Souls who have developed spiritually during life experience what he described as a natural transition, moving smoothly from physical consciousness into higher spiritual realms, guided by more advanced souls who assist in the process. However, souls without spiritual development often experience confusion during this transition. Cayce's readings describe them as not recognizing the spiritual guides who come to assist them, or being unable to perceive the light and love being offered because their consciousness remains focused on material concerns. Here's what makes this revelation so urgent for your spiritual journey today. Every moment we spend developing spiritually during this physical incarnation is preparation for our eventual transition to spiritual dimensions. The compassion we develop now, the forgiveness we practice today, the service we offer to others right now, all of this becomes the foundation for our consciousness after death. Cayce's readings about unprepared souls weren't meant to frighten people into spiritual development. They were meant to illuminate the incredible opportunity we have during physical life to grow spiritually and prepare for the magnificent spiritual adventure that awaits evolved consciousness. The sleeping prophet consistently taught that spiritual growth is the soul's primary purpose during Earth incarnations. Every challenge we face, every relationship we navigate, every choice between selfishness and service provides opportunities to develop the spiritual qualities that will determine our afterlife experience. But here's the most empowering truth from Cayce's revelations about soul development. Spiritual growth doesn't require complex practices or years of study. Cayce's readings emphasize that simple daily choices guided by love, compassion, and service to others create profound spiritual development. Treating others with kindness, forgiving those who wrong us, helping people in need, practicing gratitude, and connecting with the divine through prayer or meditation. These seemingly simple practices create enormous spiritual growth because they align our consciousness with universal spiritual principles that govern all existence. Cayce's documented readings revealed that souls who die with this spiritual foundation experience what he called joyous transition into realms of incredible beauty and opportunity for continued growth. Instead of confusion and earthbound attachment, spiritually developed souls experience welcome from advanced beings, understanding of their spiritual journey, and excitement about continued evolution in higher dimensions. The contrast couldn't be more dramatic between prepared and unprepared souls at the moment of death. Here's what Cayce revealed about the specific spiritual preparation that ensures smooth transition after death. Regular meditation or prayer that connects us with divine consciousness, daily acts of service and compassion toward others, forgiveness practice that releases resentment and anger, gratitude, cultivation that recognizes spiritual blessings, study of spiritual principles and universal laws, and conscious effort to see divine spark in all people. According to Cayce's readings, souls who develop these qualities naturally vibrate at frequencies that allow access to higher spiritual realms after death. They become what he called spiritually prepared consciousness, ready for advanced soul development beyond physical incarnation. But there's something even more profound about Cayce's revelations regarding unprepared souls. His readings consistently showed that earthbound souls eventually do progress spiritually, but they must learn in more difficult circumstances what they could have learned more easily during physical life. The spiritual principles remain the same, but learning them while trapped in lower frequencies requires much more effort and time than developing spiritually while incarnate in physical form. This is why Cayce emphasized the incredible opportunity we have right now during physical life for spiritual development. Every day we're alive presents countless opportunities to choose love over fear, service over selfishness, forgiveness over resentment, gratitude over complaint, and spiritual growth over material obsession. These choices determine not just our earthly experience, but our consciousness level at the moment of death. Cayce's readings about souls who die without spiritual growth ultimately reveal the magnificent purpose of physical incarnation itself. We're here to develop spiritually, to learn universal principles of love and service, and to prepare our consciousness for the incredible spiritual adventure that awaits evolved souls. The Sleeping Prophet's most empowering message about spiritual preparation is that it's never too late to begin. Whether you're just starting your spiritual journey, or you've been developing for years, every moment of spiritual growth contributes to your consciousness evolution and afterlife preparation. Right now, as you're listening to this, you have the opportunity to make choices that will determine your spiritual development and your experience after death. You can choose compassion over judgment, forgiveness over resentment, service over selfishness, and love over fear. According to Edgar Cayce's documented readings, these choices create the spiritual foundation that ensures smooth transition to higher realms and continued soul evolution beyond physical incarnation. If this information has opened your understanding about the importance of spiritual development, make sure to subscribe and share this video with others who are ready for this profound truth. The Sleeping Prophet's revelations about consciousness after death provide guidance that could transform not just your spiritual journey, but your entire approach to living with purpose and preparing for the magnificent spiritual adventure that awaits evolved souls. Your spiritual development today determines your consciousness experience tomorrow, both in physical life and in the spiritual realms beyond death. But here's what makes Cayce's revelations about unprepared souls even more urgent for anyone watching this right now. His readings revealed that we're currently living in what he called a time of spiritual awakening on Earth, where more souls than ever before have the opportunity for rapid spiritual development during physical incarnation. Cayce's documented readings from the 1930s and 1940s predicted that humanity would enter a period where spiritual knowledge would become widely available, creating unprecedented opportunities for soul growth. He foresaw that ancient spiritual wisdom would be rediscovered and that individuals would have access to spiritual teachings that were once hidden from the masses. This is exactly what we're experiencing today with the explosion of spiritual content, meditation practices, and consciousness studies available to anyone seeking spiritual development. But wait, there's a profound responsibility that comes with this spiritual opportunity. According to Cayce's readings, souls who incarnate during periods of widespread spiritual awakening are held to higher standards of spiritual development. The Sleeping Prophet revealed that when spiritual knowledge is readily available, souls are expected to use that knowledge for growth and service to others. This means that living during our current time of spiritual awakening comes with both incredible opportunity and significant responsibility for consciousness development. Cayce's readings about the earth changes and spiritual transformation consistently emphasized that individual spiritual growth contributes to collective human evolution. Every person who chooses spiritual development over material obsession helps raise the vibrational frequency of human consciousness as a whole. Here's something that will shock you about Cayce's predictions regarding spiritual evolution. His readings revealed that souls who refuse spiritual development during times of widespread spiritual awakening face more challenging afterlife experiences than souls who lived in periods when spiritual knowledge was limited. The Sleeping Prophet explained that greater spiritual opportunity creates greater spiritual responsibility. This puts tremendous significance on the spiritual choices we make every single day right now. Cayce's documented readings revealed specific signs that indicate a soul is successfully developing spiritually during physical incarnation. These include increasing compassion for all living beings, natural desire to serve others without expectation of reward, ability to forgive quickly and completely, growing sense of connection to divine consciousness, and spontaneous experiences of love and gratitude. But here's what's truly remarkable about these spiritual development indicators. Cayce's readings showed that souls who develop these qualities naturally begin to have experiences that prepare them for afterlife transition. They may have prophetic dreams, sense the presence of spiritual guides, experience moments of expanded consciousness, or feel deep connection to universal spiritual principles. These experiences serve as confirmation that spiritual development is progressing and consciousness is preparing for smooth transition to higher realms after death. The Sleeping Prophet's readings also revealed that spiritually developing souls often become channels for healing and guidance to help others. As consciousness evolves, it naturally seeks to serve the spiritual development of other souls, creating what Cayce called spiritual chain reactions of awakening. This is why sharing spiritual knowledge and supporting others in their consciousness evolution becomes a natural impulse for spiritually developing souls. But there's something even more profound about Cayce's revelations regarding collective spiritual evolution. His readings consistently showed that earthbound souls who remain trapped after death are eventually helped by more evolved souls who volunteer to assist in their spiritual development. This creates an eternal network of spiritual service where advanced consciousness helps less developed consciousness progress toward higher realms. According to Cayce's documented readings, this spiritual assistance system operates throughout all levels of consciousness, from earthbound souls receiving help from evolved spirits to incarnate souls receiving guidance from spiritual teachers in higher dimensions. Here's what this means for your spiritual development right now. Every effort you make toward spiritual growth not only prepares your consciousness for smooth afterlife transition, but also develops your ability to serve other souls in their evolution. Spiritual development creates both personal benefits and universal service opportunities that extend far beyond individual incarnation. Cayce's readings revealed that the most evolved souls often choose to return to physical incarnation, specifically to help guide humanity through periods of spiritual awakening. These souls sacrifice the bliss of higher spiritual realms to serve collective human evolution. This explains why so many people today feel called to spiritual teaching, healing work, or consciousness expansion activities. According to Cayce's readings, these impulses often indicate advanced souls who have incarnated to assist in humanity's current spiritual transformation. The Sleeping Prophet's final revelations about souls who die without spiritual growth ultimately point to the magnificent design of spiritual evolution itself. No soul is ever permanently lost or abandoned. The universe provides infinite opportunities for consciousness development, both during physical incarnation and in spiritual realms after death. However, the ease and speed of spiritual development varies dramatically based on the choices we make during physical life. Developing spiritually while incarnate in physical form provides advantages and opportunities that aren't available in the afterlife dimensions where unprepared souls become trapped. Have you ever stopped to think about how many lives you have left? Most people avoid this question because it awakens deep fears about death, purpose, and time running out. But Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, discovered something terrifying about this question that will completely change how you view your current existence. What Cayce found in his documented readings will shake you to your core. After accessing information from over 14,000 psychic sessions archived at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach, he revealed that your remaining lifetimes aren't controlled by some predetermined cosmic plan. Something far more unsettling determines your reincarnation cycle, the spiritual choices you're making right now in this current incarnation that most people are completely unconscious of. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to reveal what Edgar Cayce's readings actually say about reincarnation cycles, the spiritual principles that determine when your soul stops needing to reincarnate, and the warning signs that indicate whether you're advancing spiritually or repeating the same patterns lifetime after lifetime. But first, if this question has haunted your thoughts, subscribe and hit that notification bell. This profound truth needs to reach those brave enough to face their soul's reality. Here's what will disturb you about Cayce's documented findings. His readings consistently revealed that reincarnation isn't about completing a specific number of lives. According to the archived materials at ARE, Cayce taught that souls continue reincarnating until they achieve certain levels of spiritual development. Some souls make rapid progress, while others remain stuck in repetitive patterns for extended periods. The sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce gave over 14,000 documented psychic readings between 1901 and 1945. When people asked him about reincarnation and their spiritual future, his responses consistently emphasized one disturbing truth: your spiritual growth in this lifetime determines everything about your future incarnation needs. But wait, there's something even more unsettling in Cayce's archived readings. He discovered that many souls don't realize they're repeating similar spiritual challenges lifetime after lifetime, attracting comparable situations and relationships because they haven't learned the lessons their soul came here to master. According to Cayce's documented teachings, reincarnation serves the purpose of spiritual education and karmic resolution. His readings suggest that each lifetime presents opportunities to develop spiritually, resolve past mistakes, and serve others in meaningful ways. The disturbing part. Cayce's readings indicate that if you fail to make spiritual progress in this incarnation, you'll likely face similar challenges in future lifetimes, often under more difficult circumstances. Your soul keeps presenting you with opportunities to learn until you finally understand the lesson. But here's where it gets really unsettling. Cayce's readings suggest that souls can remain in reincarnation cycles for very long periods if they consistently resist spiritual growth or refuse to learn from their experiences. What determines spiritual advancement according to Cayce's documented work? His readings consistently emphasized several key principles that souls must develop before they can graduate from the need for earthly incarnations. Cayce's archived readings repeatedly emphasized the importance of forgiveness as fundamental to spiritual progress. His documented cases show that souls carrying resentment, anger, or unforgiveness create karmic bonds that magnetize them back to Earth to resolve these conflicts through future incarnations. This is where many souls encounter their greatest challenge. Cayce's readings suggest that harboring resentment or refusing to forgive creates spiritual obstacles that prevent graduation from earthly existence, regardless of other positive qualities the soul might develop. Another principle that appears throughout Cayce's documented readings is the development of unconditional love and compassion. His readings indicate that advancing souls must learn to see all people as spiritual beings, regardless of their behavior or actions. Cayce's archived materials reveal that souls must develop the ability to respond with love and understanding, even toward those who have caused them pain or difficulty. This spiritual maturity represents a significant step toward graduating from the need for physical incarnation. But wait, there's another principle that Cayce's readings suggest is particularly challenging for souls to master, and understanding this will help you see why many souls remain in reincarnation cycles for extended periods. Cayce's documented readings consistently emphasize the importance of aligning personal will with divine will. This doesn't mean becoming passive, but rather learning to serve spiritual purposes rather than purely selfish desires. According to Cayce's teachings, souls that remain focused primarily on material success, personal recognition, or controlling outcomes for selfish reasons create attachments that bind them to physical existence. These spiritual attachments act like chains, requiring additional incarnations to overcome. Now here's what's truly concerning about Cayce's reincarnation teachings. His readings indicate that souls possess free will in every lifetime, which means spiritual progress isn't guaranteed. You can actually move backward in your development if you make consistently poor spiritual choices. Cayce's documented readings suggest that souls can accumulate additional karmic debts, develop negative character traits, or become more spiritually resistant than they were in previous lifetimes. This means some souls might actually be further from spiritual graduation now than they were in past incarnations. But there's something even more disturbing in Cayce's readings about modern times. His documented work suggests that souls incarnating in recent centuries face unique spiritual challenges that make advancement both more urgent and more difficult. According to Cayce's archived readings, technological and material advancement without corresponding spiritual growth creates imbalances in human consciousness. Modern souls must navigate materialism, instant gratification, and spiritual disconnection that didn't exist in simpler historical periods. This creates what we might call a spiritual crossroads. Souls today have access to vast spiritual knowledge and teachings, but they also face unprecedented distractions and temptations that can derail their spiritual progress if they're not extremely careful about their choices. So how can you tell if you're making spiritual progress in this lifetime? Cayce's readings provide indicators that reveal whether your soul is advancing or remaining stuck in repetitive patterns. Understanding these signs could determine your entire spiritual future. According to Cayce's documented readings, advancing souls demonstrate specific responses to life's challenges. They learn to view difficulties as opportunities for spiritual growth rather than random misfortunes or reasons for resentment. If you consistently react to problems with blame, victimhood, or bitterness, Cayce's teachings suggest you're missing the spiritual lessons these experiences are designed to provide. This pattern might indicate the need for similar learning opportunities in future lifetimes. Advanced souls, according to Cayce's archived cases, develop the ability to maintain inner peace and spiritual perspective even during challenging experiences. They understand that every situation contains potential for spiritual development if approached with the right attitude. Another indicator involves your relationships, especially the difficult ones. Cayce's readings consistently showed that souls attract relationships that provide opportunities to develop spiritual virtues, like patience, compassion, and forgiveness. If your relationships consistently involve drama, conflict, or emotional turbulence, this might indicate unresolved spiritual patterns requiring attention. Cayce's documented work suggests that souls often incarnate in groups, working through various conflicts and lessons together across multiple lifetimes. But here's something that might surprise you about Cayce's teachings on soul relationships. His readings indicate that your most challenging relationships often involve souls you've interacted with in previous lifetimes, providing opportunities to choose healing over hurt, understanding over judgment. A third indicator appears throughout Cayce's readings: your motivation for service to others. His documented cases show that spiritually advancing souls naturally develop genuine desire to help, heal, and uplift others without expecting personal benefit or recognition. According to Cayce's teachings, spiritual advancement requires moving beyond self-centered concerns to genuine care for others' welfare. Souls focused primarily on personal success, comfort, or material accumulation typically require additional learning experiences to develop broader spiritual perspective. Now let me share what Cayce's readings suggest about accelerating your spiritual progress in this lifetime. Information that could potentially reduce your need for future incarnations and help you advance more quickly than you might think possible. Cayce's archived readings consistently emphasize daily spiritual practices as essential for soul development. Prayer, meditation, and study of spiritual principles create internal conditions necessary for rapid spiritual growth and expanded consciousness. But here's what's crucial according to Cayce's teachings: spiritual practices must be combined with practical application in daily life. Reading about forgiveness isn't sufficient. You must actually practice forgiving those who have hurt you. Learning about love isn't enough. You must demonstrate loving behavior through your actions and choices. Cayce's documented readings also emphasize the importance of paying attention to dreams for spiritual development. His teachings indicate that during sleep, souls receive guidance, instruction, and healing from higher spiritual dimensions. Understanding and working with your dreams can accelerate spiritual progress significantly. But wait, there's something in Cayce's later readings that suggests unusual urgency for souls currently incarnated. His documented work indicates that Earth itself undergoes spiritual evolution, which could affect future opportunities for incarnation under current conditions. According to some of Cayce's archived readings, planetary consciousness is advancing, which might eventually make incarnation more challenging for less spiritually developed souls. The Earth's spiritual classroom is essentially graduating to higher levels of consciousness. This doesn't predict catastrophic changes, but rather suggests that the opportunities for spiritual learning under current earthly conditions may not continue indefinitely. Future incarnation opportunities might require higher levels of spiritual development than currently necessary. Here's what this means for your current lifetime. If Cayce's readings are accurate, you're living during a period of significant spiritual opportunity. The lessons you learn, the spiritual progress you make, and the love you develop in this incarnation could have unusual importance for your soul's future. The most concerning aspect of Cayce's reincarnation teachings isn't the possibility of many future lifetimes. It's the potential for wasting this precious incarnation by focusing on temporary concerns instead of permanent spiritual development that transcends physical existence. Every day spent consumed by material worries, holding grudges, judging others, or living selfishly represents missed opportunities for spiritual advancement. Meanwhile, every moment invested in prayer, service, forgiveness, and love accelerates your soul's progress toward graduation from earthly existence. Cayce's documented readings suggest that souls approaching graduation often experience increased spiritual sensitivity, meaningful dreams, healing abilities, or strong desires to serve humanity. These might be signs that your soul is preparing to transcend the need for physical incarnation. But here's a final warning from Cayce's work. Even souls making significant spiritual progress can encounter setbacks if they develop spiritual pride, misuse their gifts, or stop growing in love and service to others. According to his archived readings, spiritual pride represents one of the greatest dangers for advancing souls. The moment you begin feeling superior to others because of your spiritual development or expecting special recognition for your growth, you create spiritual obstacles that require resolution through additional learning experiences. So, how many lives do you have left? According to Edgar Cayce's documented teachings, that question can only be answered by examining your current spiritual choices, relationships, daily practices, and responses to life's challenges. If you're developing genuine love for all people, practicing authentic forgiveness, serving others without expectation, and aligning your will with spiritual purposes, you might be approaching your final earthly incarnations. But if you're still controlled by resentment, selfish desires, material attachments, or spiritual pride, you likely have significant spiritual work remaining across potentially many future lifetimes. The empowering truth in Cayce's reincarnation teachings is that spiritual acceleration is possible. Through dedicated spiritual practice, conscious choices, and genuine service to others, you can accomplish tremendous spiritual growth in a single lifetime. But you must begin immediately. Every moment of this incarnation presents opportunities to choose love over fear, forgiveness over resentment, service over selfishness. These choices determine not just your happiness now, but your soul's entire future journey. What Cayce discovered about your remaining lifetimes isn't really about numbers. It's about the spiritual reflection you see when you honestly examine your current choices, attitudes, and actions. What does that spiritual mirror reveal about your soul's progress? The most profound aspect of Cayce's teachings is that your reincarnation cycle can end whenever you make sufficient spiritual progress. The question isn't how many predetermined lives await you. It's how much spiritual advancement you're willing to achieve in this precious incarnation you're living right now. If this exploration of your soul's journey has opened your consciousness to new possibilities, please subscribe and share this video with others, ready to take their spiritual development seriously. Edgar Cayce's profound wisdom deserves to reach every soul genuinely seeking spiritual truth and advancement. Remember, according to Cayce's documented readings, your spiritual future is being created by the choices you make each day. Every decision to choose love over judgment, forgiveness over anger, service over selfishness, moves you closer to graduating from the earthly classroom forever. The terrifying and empowering truth is that your remaining lifetimes depend entirely on you. What will you choose today to advance your soul's journey toward its final earthly incarnation?